The art of saying no without guilt is magic. It's a magical thing that once you really understand the profundity of it, actually will change your life. I've been talking a lot about giving yourself space to find yourself, which is both personally and professionally. But how do you cue others into giving you that time and space and kind of leaving you alone, right? How do you say no to friends when they invite you out and you got something else you want to be working on? You got something else you want to do. The gravity of this is a total perspective shift. And it all boils down to no, okay? For starters, you kind of got to realize it's not a matter of saying no, right? Saying no isn't the problem. You have a reason why you want to say no, right? And you're afraid of letting people know what that reason is. You're afraid to let them in on that feeling, right? Because that immediately it can seem like a conflict, right? And a lot of people, they want to avoid conflict. They want to avoid battle. And so they don't want to let other people in that, like, hey, I'm feeling differently than what you're feeling, because then we feel put on the back foot that we're going to have to justify it. We're going to have to explain it. And that's, I think, what trips a lot of us up, and we'll get to that. But let me give you just like a magical phrase right now that I have used, continue to use, and it's just like my go-to thing, right? And this is what it is. When somebody says, hey, I got this gig I think you'd be really good for, or a friend say like, hey, you want to go out with us on Friday night, or blah, 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 blah. I basically, what I say is, that sounds great, but I'm not excited about the way things are going in my life, and I need time to think without distractions, so I'm gonna have to say no, right? And you don't really need to say all that, because no is a complete sentence. You don't have to justify your no. The reason why I go into detail and say like, hey, that sounds awesome, wish I could be there, I'm not super stoked about the way things are going in my life right now, and I need time to think about it without distraction, is because it kind of eliminates all the obstacles, right? And it changes what might otherwise feel like a conflict into a conversation. And they'll go, oh, dude, I didn't know that. What do you got going on? What do you? And it gives you it's you giving yourself permission to talk about some of the things that are bothering you. Or they might just go, okay, sounds good, right? And then the no worked. But it provides the opportunity for those around you to be let into what you're feeling, to be let into this kind of momentous identity shift where you are taking back your time, you are taking back your energy, you are giving priority to those things, right? And you're inviting them in on that journey. Some people care, some people don't. But changing the conversation around your relationships and how other people see you is like incredibly powerful. It's incredibly empowering because you're taking back your time. You're taking your identity back. You're saying, this is my time and my energy is mine to do with what I want for me, for me, right? And that's, no is kind of a magic word because it's the great filter. It's just 2 letters. It's just N-O, no. But we use it as a filter for our lives. It's this magnificent filter of rejection that provides that, although we're saying no to opportunities, it can also provide great opportunities. For example, if you think you deserve a raise at your job and you've been tracking things and you go to your boss and you're like, hey, I want a raise. And they say, well, how about this instead? You just say no. And, the person who loses in a negotiation is the person that has the least amount of leverage, right? What's your boss's leverage? What's your leverage? Well, your leverage as an employee is walking the fuck away and being like, well, either give it to me or I'm done, right? 90% of the time, they're going to be like, okay, I'll see what I can do. And they'll try to get you that raise, right? But by saying no, we reject something. We're rejecting something and we're casting it out. right? Whether it's friends wanting you to go to a party, or it's your boss wanting you to work overtime, or it's the solicitors that come to your door to sell you a product, even though you got a no soliciting sign. Because in the words of the Smashing Pumpkins, the world is a vampire. Really. And if you change your perspective and you start to see these interactions between you and other people as like these time suckers for what they really are, not in like a maleficent way, right? Not with like some incredible ill intent, but you definitely start to see that these people are users. They are users with their own ulterior motives and agendas. And they're trying to mix you up in that. And by saying no, we kind of take our power back. But then how do you do that without guilt, right? And that's what we're going to get to. I think one of the most empowering thoughts, empowering perspectives a person can have is this. I think the moment that you start to believe this, you start to really grow as a person, as an adult, which is nobody is looking out for me but me. You might be in a relationship, you might have really great parents, you might have great siblings, you might have great friends. But at the end of the day, nobody is looking out for you but you. Even if that's not entirely true, the second you start to believe that as if it's true, you're going to start to see some of these interactions for what they really are. Because it creates this enemy effect, right? Where litmus paper, all right? There's this thing called litmus paper, and they use it to test substances, like with little droplets, to see if it's acidic or alkaline. And that's where we get the term litmus test, right? To see if something's either or. It's a way to take a temperature on what's going on. By saying no, it's really the ultimate litmus test to see if the people in your life and around you want the best for you or for themselves. That's why it's so incredibly important to learn how to say no. I don't really think there is a better way to see if, are your friends really your friends? Are your enemies really your enemies? By saying no, we kind of put people to the test of, it's interesting. Because I don't even really want to talk about the hierarchy and the barriers we put in place in the titles: father, son, husband, wife, boss, employee. No is kind of it's not only the great filter, it's the great reducer. Because it takes away titles and hierarchy and these things that we use in social fabric to both feel external pressures and create internal pressure on ourselves. It kind of removes all of that, and it takes it back to just a base human level, right? At the end of the day, when you say no, it's actually not some small word. It's actually super profound what you're actually saying. You're saying, I reject this thing that you're offering me in my own best interest, at the cost of you possibly judging me, because in this specific instance, I'm choosing what feels right for me, and I hope you can respect that, right? No says all of that, right? You don't even need to say all that, because no says it all. And I think the part where people get really tripped up is FOMO, right? Obviously saying no, and you fear of missing out on something. That, and this is the real trick to saying no without guilt, is having a plan in place, knowing why you are saying no, knowing what is going to fill that time. If you say no to a thing, we don't want it to be a knee-jerk reaction. That's where we tend to feel bad about it. That's why impulse buys tend to make us feel bad, because we did it pretty brainlessly. We did it thoughtlessly. We did it based purely on emotion, and we didn't put any thought into it. We want to put thought into why we're going to say no to things. We almost want to prepare for when that interaction takes place when we say no to it. And I think really the best way to do that, besides creating a really detailed 5-year plan, which I think is super important, is just having a basic mission statement, right? There's something that is magic about writing down one paragraph and committing to the change, right? In esotericism, this is called consecration, right? You are consecrating, you are solidifying the thought that you are having about yourself, reality. You're saying, I'm done with this. I want to make a change. I'm going to commit to it, and I'm writing it down in just the most concise paragraph as possible. And the reason why that's good is because it's shorthand to access critical thinking. So when someone says like, hey, you want to go to that party? You don't have to be like, I want to say no, but I got to think of an excuse or blah, 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 blah. You let that North Star of your mission statement, that 2 to 3 paragraphs that you have memorized, right? That can be something along the lines of like, you know, I've given a lot of time to this job that I'm currently at. I really want to commit myself to change companies or change industries. And in order to do that, I really gotta tighten up my CV. You know, I gotta reach out for references. I gotta watch some videos about how to make a better resume, maybe even make a video resume. You know, that's my main focus right now. And if that's your main focus, and you boil that down to some concise sentences, and then you memorize those sentences, and someone says, hey, you want to go to a party? You don't even have to think about it. Hey, that sounds really great, but I'm actually in the process of trying to change careers or companies right now, and I got to spend my time doing this without distractions. It's really important to me. If the person that you're talking to goes, come on, that's a fucking misery loves company situation, and you should watch the last video that I uploaded and get the fuck out of that relationship. That person literally is toxic and not going to make your life better. But let's talk about the real enemy of no. Because it's not just having these hard conversations and saying no, going to dinner, going to parties, blah, 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 blah. The real thing is this. And this is the real power of no. The hardest person to say no to is yourself. If you can master saying no to yourself, you can say no to anybody on the planet for anything. I have said no to some wild shit that would have been really, really cool. Would have been really cool. But I said no. I just didn't have an interest in it. It just didn't interest me. It didn't make my heart go aflutter and excite me. It seemed like another thing to do, right? And I think the last thing we all need is another thing to do that we're not all in on, right? But the devil in your head, that voice, that's the hard thing to say no to. You'll do it. You'll set your alarm to get up early, but then your brain does it's the smartest my brain is at 5:30 in the morning when I know I need to get out of bed and go to the gym. My brain is like just the cleverest debater on the planet, because it'll go, what about this? What about this excuse? What about this objection? What about this? What about that? You didn't think about that. And I'll go, damn, those are all really good points. I probably could sleep in another 30 minutes, which turns into an hour, which turns into I didn't go. And it's the same thing for a piece of cake. It's the same thing to calling my mom and wanting to have a deeper, more consistent relationship with her or my brother or whoever, right? It's the lie that we tell ourselves of, this is in your best interest, even though we know it's not, because your brain is not your friend. It's a good servant, but a bad master. The emotions that you have are not your friend. And the ability to just turn the flood valve off and say, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not listening to any of what you have to say. That's everything. That's impulse control. That's self-discipline. That's personal growth. That is literally self-improvement in every sense of the term. And it's also probably one of the rarest things in the world is a person that has the ability to tell themselves no. No, I need to eat vegetables. I don't need that garbage food. I know I'm really hungry right now. I know it's 2 p.m. I know I don't have time. And I know I'm looking at that Taco Bell sign right now. I could just go there and have food right now in my gullet. Really hard to say no, right? The ability to tell yourself no. People who struggle with saying no, both personally and professionally, I think should really start thinking about opportunities that arise throughout the day, every day, of which there are many, to tell that voice no, to say, I'm not gonna give myself an opportunity to say no to this thing. I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna take action. I'm not gonna, even though every fiber of my being says procrastinate, don't do it. Don't, just no. I'm not gonna listen to that thing within me. That is self-sabotage. That is this biologically my body trying to preserve energy, trying to preserve itself, saying don't do the hard thing, right? And if we can say no to ourselves, yeah, we can say no to anybody for anything. I think this is almost two conversations, because there's the personal no and there's the professional no. And the professional no is, I'm sick of working overtime, even though I told you I need that day off. I'm sick of not getting days off when I told you I needed to get it off. I'm sick of not getting that raise that you said you were going to get from me. I'm sick of you not fixing this thing. There's so many things. Or if you're like in a freelance type of situation, you know, you have so many just garbage opportunities, people coming at you saying, hey, we want to pay you a penance for nothing, you know? And you go, man, I really need the money. But I don't know that whatever small amount of shekels you might earn from doing that thing is more important than the almighty lesson of no. Just saying no. I can't count how many times people have been like, hey, here's the job. We need you to do it. Here's the maximum budget. And I go, no, not interested. Thank you. And they go, I just double checked. We can actually raise the budget a little bit more. And I say, no, not interested. Go away. And then they go away. But they always kind of throw something in, right? To try to persuade you, to get you to do this thing, right? And that's why no is powerful. It really is the best litmus test. Are people being honest? Hey, we need you to do this thing. There's no one else that can do it. No. Okay, we'll get Bob to do it. Oh, so there actually was someone else to do it. Interesting, right? Like, hey, you want to go to this thing? It's going to be fun. No. Okay, well, I don't really think I'm going to go either. It's like that person didn't even want to go, right? They wanted to go if you were going to go. The art of saying no without guilt, both to other people and yourself, personally and professionally, is probably one of the most underrated things a human being can do to truly achieve self-confidence, self-respect, take your time back, take control of your life back. There's this great movie with Jim Carrey called Yes Man, where he just says yes to everything. And because he has no problem saying no. He says no to everything. He's got in the habit of no. And thus, he has lost opportunities to meet and connect with people and blah, blah, blah. It's a great movie. Zooey Deschanel, wonderful. And so he has to say yes to everything. And then he realizes he's a lot happier because he's going out, he's greeting the unknown with a stiff upper lip, and you know, it's great. Not talking to those people, talking to people that have the opposite problem. The problem of feeling like you are a leaf in the wind, blowing wherever people want you to go, whatever they want you to do. They're not taking your wants and needs into consideration. You're like an accessory to other people's desires. And that is for sure happening because you're not taking yourself seriously. You haven't committed to wanting to make that change in your life. And there are people who are in really great positions. Like there's nothing really wrong with them or their life. They're just kind of They've lost a zest for it. And they want something new and something spicy. They want to learn a new skill. They want to do a new thing. And everything in the world is there to take your time and grab your attention. And so it's a really hard thing to do. It's a really hard thing to commit to say, first of all, I reject how I see myself. Second of all, I reject how other people see me. Third of all, I'm going to change that by telling myself no. And fourth, I'm going to change that by telling other people no. And then if I get put on the back foot, we finally arrive to the area of this video that deals with explanations. And this is where a lot of people struggle. If I tell someone no and they say, oh, why? Just like you could be a deer in the headlights, huh? You feel like you gotta say something. You gotta justify the no. You gotta say something because this person has ingratiated you into maybe hanging out if they're a friend, or they're using their leverage of hierarchy as your employer or boss or whomever to ask a favor of you. And so you better have a reason. You better have a reason, an explanation, some justification for your no. Because if you just say no, they're going to think you're a bad friend. They're going to think you're a bad employee. They're going to think that you are less than. And you got to avoid that, right? You got to avoid that. Wrong. None of that shit matters. You have to ignore those systems and structures of power and preconceived notions and pre-relationships. You have to ignore all of that. Because no, the word no does not care about that at all. No is a in-the-moment, complete sentence that does not require a justification. You are totally within your rights as a human being on earth to just say no. And when they say why, go, just doesn't feel like something I want to do. I'm just not interested in doing that. That doesn't excite me. And I think that is where the actual magic lies in saying no, is when someone asks you for a justification and you give them just a quick, it doesn't excite me. That doesn't interest me. What happens a lot is people go, okay, what do you want to do? What does interest you? What does excite you? Right? And you go, And now you're thinking. Now you just changed your reality. You just changed the whole paradigm. Now you're in control of how your time's going to be spent. You're in control of what's going on around you. You're in control of your narrative. You're in control of your identity, right? You're taking it back. So the Will Smith, who I'm not a huge fan of after he slapped Chris Rock, I kind of have a lot of love lost there. He did have this great quote that all the best things in life are on the other side of fear. That's 100% true. And to kind of zero it in a little bit, all the best opportunities are on the other side of no, especially asterisks when people ask for a justification and you give them just a short, I'm not interested. That doesn't excite me. That doesn't feel like something I want to do. That is so incredibly empowering to do that. That is, how many times have people been like, you want to go do this thing? And you're like, fine, I'll go do the thing. And you might have a little bit of fun, but maybe you drink too much and you're like, I didn't want to do that. Or maybe, you go and the food shit and you're sitting there thinking about, God, I really wish I would have said no and just done this thing, and you regret it. I don't know that, like, in the long term, in the long scheme of things, that anybody, right, that someone goes, hey, you want to do this? You go, no. And they say, why not? And you go, that doesn't seem like something I'm interested in. That you regret doing that. It will almost, even if you lose the opportunity, you lose the job opportunity, you miss the concert, you blah, blah, blah. Just the act of doing that is so incredibly empowering that it's always worth it. It's always worth it, right? And here's why I don't think you should spend a lot of time on excuses about why. I don't think you should spend a lot of time on justifications, and here's why. The second that someone asks you why, they stop listening. They do not give a shit about your justification. They don't care about your reasons why not. What they do is they offensively go into salesperson mode, and they're trying to get a list of your objections so they can counter them and they can try to persuade you. And that is no good. That is no good, because that is them, the time sucker, the vampire, trying to weasel their agenda and their control over your time into your life, right? So there's no point in actually listing your objectives, because the person isn't actually asking, oh, why? What do you got going on? Right? What they're actually saying is, tell me what you got going on so that way I could explain to you why this thing that I asked you is more important or better. So I don't give them the chance. I don't give them the chance to say, you can go to the gym tomorrow. Or like, I'm sure they got like healthy food on the menu. I don't give them a chance to counter what I feel is right for me. I don't need to be talked out of a decision that I've made that is going to benefit me. And anyone that would do so is running counter to my value systems and my principles. And once you can start hanging the word no on value systems and principles and a mission statement and a 5-year plan, it's not only easy to say no, it's super easy to say fuck off. Right? And that's where you want to be. You want to very easily be able to tell people, no. Why? I'm just not interested. It's just not something I'm interested in. I can't even, like, just saying that, I think about all these situations that I have done that in, and what it's like the doors that is open for me really can't be understated. People are ready to throw another 0 on what they were offering money-wise. People are ready to negotiate. And the reason I wanted to make this video is because I remember the moment that my life actually changed. My whole perspective shifted. And it's this book by Blair Enns, who's a douchebag, called How to Win Without Pitching. Blair Enns, ENNS, I think that's how you spell his name. How to Win Without Pitching. This book profoundly changed me as a human being, because it said things like, we're not going to give explanations for our price when we charge our clients. We're not going to justify it. We're going to adopt the take it or leave it mentality. And we're going to watch those seeds in a garden grow and blossom into something beautiful, and we're going to trust the process. And I was like, that actually sounds kind of terrifying. That actually sounds kind of terrifying, to just walk away from money and opportunity when I was really desperate for both. And to watch it work, not just professionally, but on the relationships in my life, it made me have deeper relationships with, like, friends. They'd be like, man, you want to, like, play a video game later? Like, blah, blah, blah. And I go, no, I don't want to play a video game till 1 a.m. I'm actually trying really hard to learn how to make a website because I'd like to do this cool thing. And they go, that sounds pretty cool. You got some links on videos I could watch on that? Maybe I could help you with it. And I go, yeah. And now you and your friends are having cool conversations about coding and websites and sales funnels rather than some fucking video game. And I'm not talking shit about video games. I love video games. Look at this. Got stuff all behind me, right? I love it. But I don't love it more than I love the ability to control my own narrative, my own time, how I use my energy. And I never want to feel like anybody's putting me into a corner I don't want to be in. So I've gotten very good at saying, no, that doesn't interest me, right? Or just even that, and you want to be, Some people are just fucking polite. They feel like they have to be polite, and they don't even know how to go into the conflict. They don't even know how to go into it in a way that like doesn't like make them a little shaky and apprehensive. And I totally get that, dude. I totally get it. That's why you need your own magic phrase. You need your own magic phrase, right? Or just steal mine. Hey, that sounds great, but I'm not super excited about my life right now, and I need a little bit of time to think about it without distraction. Hey, what you just suggested we do doesn't excite me. All right. And I'm trying to spend a little bit more time right now on stuff that I'm truly interested in. Right. Because you're using that magic of no and rejection as this great filter to remove hierarchy and labels and titles and taking it back to just the base human experience and relationships. And you're saying, this is me as a human being telling you no as a human being, and I hope you can respect that. And they either do or they don't. And if they don't, congratulations. You just outed this person as a shithead with their own agenda that wants to manipulate you and suck your time away. And now it's real easy to be on guard of that, right? Or maybe that's how you think the person is, but then you actually say, no, I'm not interested. And they go, well, let's talk about something that would get you interested. And you're like, oh shit, this person's really great. I didn't know that. I would have never found that out. The light that I painted them in was totally wrong. And that's why no is the great litmus test for relationships. And this is really the last thing I want to say about it. You deserve to know how the people, you might think you already know. If you're not saying no consistently, you don't know. You deserve to know how the people around you, both personally and professionally, see you, view you, feel about you, and how they feel about themselves in relation to you. And no is the only way to find out. If you want to see how much your work cares about you, and they ask you to work overtime for the 4th time that week, and you say, not in any mean way. You just say, no, that doesn't interest me. You're going to find out really quick if that's a place you should be working. You're going to find out really quick if that boss that you have is a douchebag or not a douchebag or desperate. You're going to find out really quick if your friends actually support your decision to quit drinking. Just one beer, dude. Not one beer, dude. All right. Then you don't hear from them for 9 months because you don't drink anymore. So you're not fun to hang out with anymore. Holy shit, you just dodged a bullet. Look at you go. Look at you getting rid of them toxic people. No is so powerful. Baby steps. The best way to start practicing is by telling yourself no. If you can do that, you can do anything. All right. I appreciate you guys. I hope this video spoke to some people. I feel like when I make these videos, I know exactly who I'm talking to. And if you're out there and you're like, this video isn't for me, you're probably right. Because I know who it's for. And hopefully they can find it. All right. I appreciate you. Thank you.